Base 10 and place value. We have a beautiful numbering system. From just 10 symbols, we can make every single number we would ever need in the entire universe. These digits are symbols or digits. You've known them for a long time. There's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Fingers are also called digits, and that's not just a similarity that doesn't have some importance. Obviously, the first man learned to count on his fingers. Sometimes we do in school too. This little girl is working on her math using her fingers. And of course, the fact that we have 5 fingers on each hand and a total of 10 makes us think, well, that must have had something to do with why our numbering system is called the base 10 system. But what happens when you run out of fingers? You only have 10. Then it becomes necessary to form new groups. And forming new groups is the key to being able to count forever in actually 2 different directions. Here's 0, that starts everything. And you can count along with the positive numbers that we first learn as little children. Then as we get into the intermediate grades, we start to learn about negative numbers, numbers that can be counted to the other side of 0, that have importance when we need to think about things that are less than 0. So we have the ability to go to infinity or forever in a positive direction, and to infinity and forever in a negative direction. So it's pretty obvious, I think, how our numbering system, which is called base 10, got its name. Everything's based on 10, groups of 10, and hopefully we can see that with the upcoming slides. If you've ever seen these little blocks, many classrooms have them, they're a great way to show how the numbering system works. Here's the thing though, here's the main point of our numbering system. 9 is the full capacity that any one place can hold. The ones place can have 9, but you can't add 1 to it and have 10 and leave it there in the ones place. The tens place, same thing. It can have 9 groups of 10. That's what we see pictured here. We see 2 groups of 10. It could have 9 groups of 10, but once you added that 10th group of 10, there would no longer be room in the tens place to hold it. So you would have to go and form a new place called the hundreds place, which is made up of groups of 100. And this process goes on and on and on. But the key is 9 is the full capacity, and hopefully you know that capacity is as much as something can hold. If you have a quart bottle, you can only put 32 ounces into it. Anything else will spill over. Try to put 10 ones in the ones place, it's going to spill over, form a group of 10, and take you into the tens place. So we have 8 little cubes or blocks here. We have 2 tens here, which is a total of 20, and we have 1 100 block. Altogether, the total of the entire number of little squares that we see here in this picture is 128. 100 in the 100s place, the 2 tens in the tens place, and the 8 ones. Now the rule with our numbering system is as you move to the left, the groups get larger and larger. So I guess it would make sense that as we move to the right, the groups get smaller and smaller and smaller. 1 is the starting place. Without the number 1, nothing else makes any sense. So here is a number, 6,982,175. What I've done here is I've taken each one of these individual digits and separated and put it in with its name of the place. 6 is in the millions place. The 9 is in the 100,000s place. 8 in the 10,000s place. 2 in the thousands place. 1 in the hundreds place. 7 in the tens place. And 5 in the ones. Now when we read this number, we don't read it 6,900,000, 80,000, 2,000, 100, 70, and 5. We read it differently. we have the ability to read the number by reading all the numbers that are in one place, like this is 6,982,000. So we don't have to read them separately. Now, here's the point. Each place is 10 of the place that came before it, as we saw with the blocks, with some of the smaller places. The millions place is 10 groups of 100,000, the place that comes before. You can have 9 here. When you make the 10th one, you form a million. That's a lot. Okay, now the 100,000s place is formed with 10 of the 10,000s. 10 10,000s equals 100,000. 10,000s, 10 of this place, spill over and form a group of 10,000. When you're in the thousands place and you have groups of 1,000, it'll be 10 hundreds necessary to make that group. Hundreds are made from 10 tens, tens are made from 10 ones, and now you might say, well, it doesn't work for the ones place. What is that 10 of? Well, there are numbers over here on this other side. There's an invisible decimal point here. They're the decimal fractions, and the first place is called tenths, so a 1 is made of 10 tenths. We'll get into decimals later. So base 10 it starts off with 1, and from that point, you can go off in 2 different directions. As we said, negative and positive numbers, but the other thing that's kind of interesting is that 1, if you split it up, has a universe of numbers unto itself. It has these things called fractions. We have 2 different kinds of fractions that we're going to learn about. One are the standard fractions, where you can see the size of the fraction under the line. This fraction says 7/9. By the way, none of these show 7/9, but this is the fraction 7/9. What does it mean? It means that the whole, one whole, is broken into 9 pieces, and only 7 of them are there. 3/4 is a simple one. In fact, this shows fourths down here, but 3/4 means that the whole is broken into 4 pieces, and you have 3 of them, 3 out of 4. Now, these are decimal fractions, and the difference between a decimal fraction and a standard fraction is, with a decimal fraction, they don't show you the name of the denominator. The denominator is determined by the place that the number happens to be in. This 5 is in the tenths place, and we talked about that on the last slide. Is the ones place, the decimal point. The first place is called tenths. Second place is called hundreds. That's for another time, but it is interesting to know that there is an infinity of numbers. How about this fraction right here? Do you think you know the part of the circle that's colored white? Well, think about it for a second. If you're thinking 2/3, you're right. The 3 is the number that tells you how many pieces the whole is broken into. 2 at the top tells us 2 of those 3 pieces are white. So here is a breakdown of what we were just talking about in regard to places. 10, the group 10 in the tens place, is 10, do you remember? 10 ones, that's right. And 100 is 10, think about it, right, tens. 10 times 10 equals 100. And 1,000 is 10 hundreds. 10 times 100 equals 1,000. And 10,000 is 10 1,000s. That kind of makes sense. 10 1,000s is 10,000. And 1,000 is made up of 10 10,000s. And it goes on and on and on. And that's where we get that word infinity.